Shalom, giving all praises, honor, and glory to our power Yahweh, Baha Shem Yahweh Shai, Baha Shem Rachak Kodash. Double honors to the apostles, the bishops, and the elders of the Great Millstone. Peace and blessings to the hopeful elect of the tabernacles of David, scattered throughout the four corners of the earth, and wherever you may be. Wherever you may be, to I say Shalom, Yeshua Shalom. Alright, this is not going to be long at all. Super brief, straight to the point. The videos itself will probably be longer than what we're going to talk about here, but just based around today, this recent ICE situation, which, if I'm correct, this is now the third person who's lost their life in these ICE situations here. The most recent one being centered around Minnesota. Okay, that one chick in Minnesota. Man, cycles bites me off. Yeah, what I was about to say. So you had Trump somewhat speaking about. He didn't really say too much on it. But you also had this chick, Christy Nome, speak about it. And yeah, she said a few things there. She basically told a lie. Which now, okay, common sense. If you see a person who's driving a truck, which the person was trying to turn to the right, and the guy was kind of standing somewhat in the way, common sense doesn't matter, who you are. If you're in front of a vehicle that's trying to pull off, you're going to get the hell out of the way, okay? And so, he stepped to the side, but he also shot at the same time. And this dude's probably not going to catch any charges because these guys have certain immunity. Okay, and if he's found to have that immunity, he's going to get away with it. And I don't stand for either side. I'm just making a point here. And so, the most important thing about what Christy Nome said is she called these people domestic terrorists, which that includes you, regular Joe Smo, everyday, 6-pack Edomites. All right, and these are your own people who, because of ICE, which leads to division by way of protest, leading to civil unrest, things of that nature. Because we talked about Iran, but that was back east. This time we're centering on Babylon the Great, in particular Minnesota, and the situation that just happened. And so, you people that are having these protests and things of that nature, you're now being called domestic terrorists. Okay, and it's been a constant thing where you see, ICE does this, people protest heavy, dies down a little bit, ICE does something else, people protest heavy all across the states. All right, because you could have a protest in your state today, who knows? And in any moment, these protests pop up, here and there, and they come and go. But this is all part of prophecy, and I'm gonna get probably just two scriptures here. The first one, let me get to the Apocrypha. We should already be here, but actually, I see Second Esdras, so I can just do this. Tap Second Esdras, and I want to get chapter 9 real quick. Okay, so we'll read from the top. He answered me then and said, "Measure thou the time diligently in itself, and when thou seest part of the signs past." All right, you don't have to see every single one of them, because every single one of them are going to come to fruition. All right, the scriptures say that he do not, by number had be numbered the times, and he do not stir or move to the said measure be fulfilled. Just kind of paraphrase what it says there. So every prophecy has its appointed time. Okay, and this civil unrest is all part of prophecy. Okay, we're going to read it. It says, then shalt thou understand that it is the very same time wherein the highest will begin to visit the world which he made. Therefore, when there shall be seen earthquakes and uproars of the people. Okay. Now, last time we touched on Iran just a little bit back east. This time we're coming back to the west, back into the states, back into Babylon the Great. And what do you see happening? Uproars of the people. Okay. As I mentioned, I believe this is now the third person deleted amongst the ICE. As far as we know, so there could be more people. And my numbers could be wrong. I think this is now the third person who's been deleted. While ICE has been out, doing what they do. Okay, but it says uproars of the people. Now we all know that the El Presidente, all right, he's a puppet, all right. He gets orders from on high, and we can't quickly forget about the Posse Comitatus Act, where you can't use troops basically for, regular, things that would be regular use. Can't use the troops in that manner. But if situations like this continue to carry on and get worse and worse, which they will, especially when you talk about the everyday average Edomite, okay, that pride and this is my country. You think we're terrorists, we're going to show you how terrible we are. And then they're just going to what? And get their guns. It's bound to come to that point. And we're going to read that other scripture there. As a matter of fact, yeah, because it's also in Ezra. But yeah, eventually they're going to come to a point where these people are going to actually take up arms. Now, you did have small events, which I don't think they really went anywhere, where you had the MS-13 putting money on ICE heads. Then you had this principal, or I think it was assistant principal or something like that, and his brother who got caught, who wanted to do stuff to ICE as well. And so that rhetoric is nothing new. People want to do stuff to ICE, but because people are emotionally charged about what ICE is doing. And if you notice, there's probably more Edomites that are protesting than anybody. Okay? Because they're just everywhere, right? But anyways, it says earthquakes and uproars of the people in the world. And so to close out my thought, the way that they get around the Posse Comitatus Act is through the Insurrection Act. See? And so we know how these elites move. They're not going to waste, let a good crisis go to waste. So the thing is, the key thing is timing. All right? So they can have many situations that happen, but time is the key, because they need the right situation, the right timing, the right response, and so on and so forth, where they can really consider this like, all right, this is insurrection. Let's now invoke the Insurrection Act. And then what follows from there? Okay, probably more civil unrest, but also martial law and things of that nature. Okay, because we're in the midst of Jacob's trouble, and things are only going to get worse. Then shalt thou well understand that the Most High spake of those things from the days that were before thee, even from the beginning. Now let's jump over here to chapter, I believe it's 15. Yep. Woe unto the world and them that dwell therein, for the sword and their destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands. And you have these people making all kinds of noise and beating drums and everything, and protesting outside of the hotel where the ICE agents are staying. I don't know what that's going to accomplish, other than them losing sleep and being tired. But they can always just get drunk and wake up in the morning, hopefully without a hangover. They probably will hopefully wake it up without a hangover. But anyways, there's not much they're going to achieve from that. But it's the point of division. That's what's happening, okay, in the States on different levels, okay, because there's different divisions, and this is just one of them. With the ICE situation, all right, that's just one of the many divisions that are happening right now in America because of the time period that we're living in. So for the sword and their destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands. Because eventually these people are going to take up arms, and they're going to start to say like, hey, ISIS killed too many people, or I can't say that for sure, but it's possible, right? Or ISIS deleted too many people, or this is that, or that is that. Let's the one, who was it? Was it Minnesota or whoever? It says they're going to invoke their National Guard. Okay, so that's civil unrest. That's a form of a civil war, because you have what, troops versus troops. You see? So there's a lot of different things going on right now that the average person in America ain't aware of. You know why? Because it's about every day like today. Today is a nice day, and so people are gonna go out and get some sun, fun, and whatever else. And they don't ever pay attention to the things that are going on, in this country. And if they do, it's a brief moment, and then they go back to their regular life. They don't understand that the things that are unfolding are going to affect everybody. It doesn't matter if you're in the truth or out of the truth. Things that are going on affect everybody because this is the Lord doing His work, all right, in the earth. It says, "For there shall be sedition among men." See, because this is coming, where these people are going to take sides, man. Well, not take sides because they aren't taking sides, but what I mean is take a stand, some more, so to speak. Going to take a stand. And that first line of taking a stance is going to be against those who they put out there, the ICE agents, and to some degree the Border Patrol, because the Border Patrol is now helping ICE. I think some of those Border Patrol people took some of those high-level positions in ICE. So I mean, they're still one and the same, if you ask me. But that's going to be the first major division. People are going to stand up and say, "We're not going to take this anymore." All right, and then it's going to be the people versus ICE. And the people have been deemed as what? Domestic terrorists. So who are they going to say is in the right? Of course, ICE. Why? Because ICE is set up by, whatever, government structure on down. So you get the point. So invading one another, they shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power. It's happening in Iran, okay, and it's happening here in the States, and it's happening in other places, but this is what's bound to happen. It says, "Man shall desire to go into a city, shall not be able." I want to go into that insurrection act. All right, once again, because what's the name of it? The Posse Comitatus Act. You can't just take the troops and just utilize them for whatever you want. All right, the Posse Comitatus, stops that. But the Insurrection Act is the way around that. Okay, where they're allowed to do that. It's the way around the Posse Comitatus Act. But that's why we mentioned it has to be the right time and the right situation, the right this, the right that, and bam, finally they get what they want. And it moves things to another level because we know Esau likes that order out of chaos. That's the way he thinks. "For because of their pride, the cities shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. And a man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword and spoil their goods because of the lack of the bread and for great tribulation." This scripture could be used for multiple things, man. All right, like we just read, the lack of bread, famine, okay, current situations, so on and so forth. But I mean, the point is made there. You see what's going on, so we got to keep our eyes peeled because more situations like this are bound to happen. So I'm gonna leave it at that. Lord, will you edify? Shalom.
Single month.
And on Minnesota, the vice president yesterday suggested that Renee Good, who was killed by this ICE officer, was part of a broad left-wing network. What has your team told you about this broad left-wing network? Who is in charge of it? Who's part of it? What's it called?
Well, I haven't seen the vice president's statement, but he's generally very accurate. I hate to say, I watched that yesterday, and there were a lot of different forms to it. But there was a woman screaming, "Shame, shame, shame, shame." She was a agitator, probably a paid agitator, but in my opinion, she was an agitator, a very high-level agitator, so professional. She wouldn't stop screaming. I said, "This isn't a normal situation. This is a professional troublemaker." Because you heard it and I had it. Now, I will say this, the news sort of turned her down, turned her off, because you're trying to watch. She was so loud and so crazy and just not normal. When somebody sees something like that, they don't go screaming and the same words. So, I guess you could say professional, but I didn't think she did a very good job. You have agitators, and we will always be protecting ICE, and we're always going to be protecting our Border Patrol and our law enforcement.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, in your conversations with these oil executives today, did you provide any security guarantees so that they can do their work safely in Venezuela? Yeah. And separately, Mr. President,
they will have those guarantees, yes.
And secondly, Mr. President, I'm curious in terms of the...
You asked about a shooting that we just had in Minneapolis, Minnesota. It was an act of domestic terrorism. What happened was our ICE officers were out in an enforcement action. They got stuck in the snow because of the adverse weather that is in Minneapolis. They were attempting to push out their vehicle, and a woman attacked them and those surrounding them and attempted to run them over and ram them with her vehicle. An officer of ours acted quickly and defensively shot to protect himself and the people around him. And my understanding is that she was hit and is deceased. We're continuing to gather more information, but this goes to show the assaults that our ICE officers and our law enforcement are under every single day. These vehicle rammings are domestic acts of terrorism. We're working with the Department of Justice to prosecute them as such. We will continue to protect our ICE officers and in cooperation with other law enforcement agencies as well.
Good afternoon. I'm Rochelle Bilal, the sheriff for the city and county of Philadelphia. And I say her name, Renee Good. Renee Good. Renee Good. Renee Good. Renee Good. Renee Good. This should not have happened, but we're here today. Let know that law enforcement professionals, real ones, not the fake made up ICE, probably Trump's new army to attack citizens of the United States. Did you hear what I said? No law enforcement professional wears a mask. None. None. Those that come into our communities wearing a mask to commit crime, thank God for our district attorney, Larry Kraftner, who said he's going to lock them up. And I'm saying now, we are not going to whisk you away for them to hide your identity, because when you do it there, you're getting arrested there. No whisk away for them to hide you. None of that here. None of that here. Law enforcement professionals do not shoot at moving vehicles. I'm not saying fleeing, because she wasn't fleeing. She was getting out of the way. Law enforcement professionals do not stand in front of moving vehicles invoking an action that is illegal. No, we don't. And so we stand here today with all those who stand against the made-up, fake, what you can call ICE, professional law enforcement. I don't call them none of that. I call them made-up, fake, wannabe law enforcement. Because what they do is against not only legal law, but the moral law. So I'm with the DA, and we will work with them. If any of them want to come in this city and commit a crime, you will not be able to hide. Nobody will whisk you off. You don't want this smoke, because we will bring it to you. And the fake, whatever they call them, because I can't say the name, but the criminal in the White House would not be able to keep you from going to jail. Renee Good should be here today. And to her family, we are saying law enforcement professionals are not the ones here in this city that would do that. But here's the last thing that I would say. Law enforcement professionals around the country do their job, and we have been fighting for years to build that bridge between us and our communities. You have one negative nutcase that causes this problem, and now we all have to fight again to let people know law enforcement works with communities. These crimes would not be down if we didn't have communities work with us. Thank you.
The ICE agent who fatally shot protester Renee Nicole Good in Minneapolis is a Trump-supporting Christian and war veteran who has a Filipino wife, according to family. Jonathan Ross has been identified as the agent who opened fire on Good on January 7th after the feds allege she tried to mow him down with her SUV on the suburban street. The 43-year-old is believed to have worked as an ICE agent since at least 2013. Based in Minneapolis full-time, he is a member of the ICE ERO Special Response Team, a specially trained tactical unit, law enforcement sources told the Post. As anti-ICE protests erupted across the country in the wake of the shooting, the agent's family rushed to his defense, telling the Daily Mail, "You would never find a nicer, kinder person. He's a committed, conservative Christian, a tremendous father, a tremendous husband. I couldn't be more proud of him," his dad, Ed Ross, said. The Iraq War veteran married his wife, who hasn't been identified publicly, in 2012. Ross's dad said his son's wife was a U.S. citizen, but wouldn't say how long she's been in the country. In the past, the wife has shared photos on social media of herself posing alongside a U.S. Border Patrol helicopter. The details on Ross's background emerged after it was revealed he had had a run-in with an illegal immigrant in Bloomington, Minnesota last June that saw him dragged 100 yards during a traffic stop, and he was hospitalized with significant injuries to his arm and hand, requiring 33 stitches. Resurfaced Ring camera footage originally obtained by CBS WCCO reveals what happened during the incident, which happened on June 17th in Bloomington, Minnesota. Roberto Carlos Munoz, the illegal immigrant from Guatemala with a lengthy rap sheet who dragged Ross, was arrested and charged with assaulting the officer and was convicted by a federal jury. In regards to the latest incident surrounding Ross, DHS Secretary Kristi Noem said he had acted in self-defense and was justified in opening fire, and that Good was part of a mob of agitators attempting to thwart ICE's efforts in enforcing President Trump's immigration crackdown. The shooting poured gasoline on the long smoldering tensions between federal immigration agents and protesters who have fought back, at times violently, against the presence of agencies like ICE enforcing the law in their community.
Just hours after Renee Good was killed on Wednesday, ICE agents raided a high school here in Minneapolis, clashing with parents and protesters. In response, several school districts canceled classes for the week, while others have shifted to remote learning.
I want ICE out. I want them out. They are destroying families. They are destroying communities. They're making it impossible for kids to learn. Nowhere feels safe. It feels unpredictable and random and horrifying. I can't take my family anywhere in this city. I can't without the legitimate fear that they will directly experience horrific violence. That was not the case before I showed up.
They're creating terror. They are creating chaos. They're traumatizing our families, our children with impunity. And this week they killed a mother, and they used chemical agents and assaulted children on school grounds at a local public high school. And this is unacceptable.
We all have eyeballs and can watch the video footage from multiple angles and are clear what happened here. And, trying to somehow say that Renee Good was a domestic terrorist is outrageous and obscene. As people are in their communities using their cameras, it's one of the most powerful tools that we have to completely, disrupt the story that the Trump administration is trying to tell.
Good evening, and thanks for joining us tonight on Fox 9 and Fox Local. I'm Karen Scullen. Our top story tonight, many protests continuing across the state against ICE even being here tonight. Many are gathering in downtown Minneapolis, where they believe ICE agents are staying. Fox 9's Maury Glover joins us now with a look at how things are at this hour. And Maury, I've seen a lot of people gathered kind of at different locations throughout the night. What have you seen from where you're at?
Well, it has been a noisy night here in downtown Minneapolis as protesters have gathered outside the Canopy by Hilton Hotel in downtown to protest a location that they believe ICE agents or federal agents are staying. Now, protesters have instruments and noisemakers, everything from drums, tubas, trumpets, whistles, all in an effort to make noise outside the hotel. Now, protesters are upset because they believe that federal agents are staying here during this immigration crackdown, and they say there will be no peace until they leave. Another group splintered off from this group, about 100 people, and started marching through downtown Minneapolis, and they kind of gathered outside another hotel, the Renaissance Hotel by the Depot. another hotel, presumably because they believe ICE agents are staying there as well. But for the most part, what we have seen, everything has remained relatively peaceful. The crowd obviously just making as much noise as they can. There's a gentleman who has a full drum kit set up on the corner, just playing the drums as loud as he can to try and make noise. The drivers and motorists who are pulling, as you can see, driving by, also honking their horns to kind of add to the overall noise and loudness. So these protesters have been out here for about the last couple of hours, and the crowd seems like it is, pretty stable at this time. But we'll continue to be here, and we'll let you know what happens.
Maury, quick question for you. I know we've had some inquiries tonight here into the newsroom. Have you seen any signs of police, Minneapolis police or any other department down in the area, kind of watching over things or doing anything about it?
You know, I do see there's a police car just a few feet from where the big group is, but police just seem to be kind of staying there, monitoring what's going on. I haven't seen them get out and interact with the crowd at all, or tell them to quiet down or move along. So far it does look like there's at least one police car here, but so far no interaction that I've seen that the officers have had with the protesters.
All right, which is I think what MPD usually does with these protests is they kind of take a stand back and monitor position on this. So, all right, Maury Glover live for us tonight from downtown Minneapolis. Thank you.
We are in downtown Minneapolis. We've been following this protest outside of a hotel where these protesters believe federal agents may be staying. And just in the last few seconds, it appears they're trying to get actually inside this hotel, truly making as much noise as humanly possible to this point, banging on drums, blowing their whistles, out with their signs as well. This is at least the second hotel they have been to in the downtown Minneapolis area, appearing to be under the belief that agents are staying at the hotels at which they arrive. This is the latest stop where they've made their move here to just Oh, and you know what? I'm going to turn here. You can see the lights that they were shining on the sides of the building here, trying to get into some of the windows with that light, which we saw them doing previously on the other side of the building as well. Clearly, we knew there was anger here with federal immigration agents being in the city of Minneapolis, and these protesters making it known they do not want them, not only in the city, but not even staying in the hotels.
Outside of a federal immigration facility here in Minneapolis, where, as you can see, there are rows, dozens upon dozens of federal law enforcement personnel creating a barrier between protesters, which are on my left, and the entrance to this facility on my right. Earlier today, hundreds of people were gathered here, essentially trying to block enforcement operations by clogging up the entrances to this facility. The goal was to prevent cars from leaving or entering. That promptly resulted in the federal law enforcement presence you're seeing today. We've seen at least 2 people get detained. We've seen at least 1 instance of tear gas being used. And we've seen several protesters attempt to actually have conversations with these federal law enforcement personnel as they attempt to safeguard this building and, again, create a barrier between protesters and this federal property. Take a listen to some of those conversations.
Through all Donald Trump administration, I never saw you guys standing out here protesting during that. Because you were kidnapping us off of the streets in broad daylight.
Are you from Minnesota?
Huh?
No,
Right.
so you wouldn't have
Not
seen
at
us.
home. We're at
You
home
wouldn't
right
have
now.
seen us. You don't know us. You don't know how we've been involved in our community. You're not keeping us safe. You understand that? A woman was murdered yesterday. And you guys are here just to terrorize and harass our community.
I'm so angry, and I don't want to be angry. Our community is being terrorized by the United States government. They do not need to be here. They murdered one of my neighbors yesterday.
He's not from around here. See. I appreciate you being kind wherever, whenever you can.
How are you feeling?
Well, obviously upset, angry, freaked out. You know, why is a 62-year-old woman out here with her big orange gloves wagging her finger at grown men who are in full military gear, you know, clutching at their guns and holster their tasers? Why are they doing that? It's so unnecessary and so absurd and so ridiculous.
A woman was murdered yesterday, and clearly in the videos it was not her fault. It's so scary right now. We didn't have trouble in Minneapolis until ICE came.